Hey guys, what is going on? This is Travis P11. I want to welcome you back to the channel. Today guys, we're going to do a little tabletop review of the Glock G40. This is the Gen 4 model with the MOS option slide, the modular optic system slide. Before we do any of that, I just want to send a shout out to Stan over at SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska. Stan did loan me this pistol from his private collection, and Stan has continued to be a longtime sponsor of the channel. So make sure you guys check out SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska, and they will take care of your firearms needs. All right, the G40. You know, this is kind of a bittersweet reunion for me because the first pistol that I ever bought was a Glock G20, which is a 10mm, just kind of standard frame size Glock pistol. G40, man, this thing was so much fun to take to the range. What we're going to do is go over the general specifications first, then we'll just do a little hands-on, you know, features, functions, and so on, and talk about everything that this very cool pistol has to offer. All right, now in terms of specifications, your overall length is 9.49 inches. Your slide length is 9.02 inches, your width is 1.34 inches, slide width is 1.12 inches, height including magazine is 5.47 inches, line of sight for polymer sights is 8.31 inches, we're looking at a 15 round capacity, trigger pull is around 5.5 pounds, and your weight with loaded magazine is 44.62 ounces. Otherwise, I think that's about it. You do have the typical Glock safe action system on it, and really is kind of like the same formula as all the other Glock pistols that are out there. Alright, so we'll talk about the experience of shooting this pistol, accuracy results, reliability, and all that fun stuff here in just a little bit. Let's just take a general look at this pistol overall. It does kind of look like a G17 on steroids when you first glance at it. Very cool design. Let's go ahead and make sure that the firearm is in fact unloaded. So front to back, there we go. What do you need to know about the pistol? Well, again, it's got the traditional Glock polymer frame, very sturdy, very rugged. Inside the box, you do have your grip attachments you can put on the rear. If you want a more aggressive beaver tail, you can do that. You can basically make the gun fit your hands. I believe it's 2.85 inches from the rear of the pistol grip to the front of the trigger in terms of trigger reach itself. You do have a Glock Picatinny rail on there, and I believe that you can just use standard 1911 pick rail accessories. I could be wrong, but you might want to check that out. On the front, starting at the front, you do have that, you know, just basic kind of scallop design. Makes it easy to reholster the firearm if necessary. Okay, just your basic Glock polymer sight up in the front. In the rear, you've got the adjustable U sight, which is a little bit different than what you might be used to on just say like a standard G19 or G17. This one is adjustable, which is really nice. Although you do have that milled cutout for your optic. Now, a little bit about this. When you do buy this pistol, you do get some adapter plates, the MOS adapter set 02 modular optic system. I believe that these are included, and the Trijicon plate is currently what's on there right now. You'll need to look up the specifics to see, you know, specifically which other optics you can put on here. I would imagine you can go with a Leopold and also a Vortex. There also might be a more generic adapter for other types of reflex lights that you want to put up on the top. Again, slide, standard finish. Now, this is an Austrian-made model. You can save a little bit of money and buy the Australian-made or the American-made model if you look this up over on Bud's Guns. Now, unfortunately, Gallery of Guns, Gun Genie did not have any of these in stock. I did see this model over at Bud's for $700 without the sight, without the RMR on the top. And otherwise, you can get an American-made model for $666, also with a 15-round capacity. I did have an American-made G17 Gen 4. Never had any problems with it. Ran like a champ. I did eventually sell it. Then down the road, I did purchase an Austrian manufacturer model. Again, slide is nice and smooth. There are no front serrations for a press check. The top is just very much, you know, same old bread and butter Glock formula, which is perfectly fine. Rear serrations are just your vertical style. They are aggressive enough where you can charge the firearm if you need, if you're the kind of slingshot person that does it. I tended to grab from the back and top charge when I would charge the first round. One thing about having that little reflex sight on there, though, I typically have my whole hand over the rear of the firearm when I charge the first round. I didn't do that with the sight because I didn't want to mar up or fingerprint up the glass on the Trijicon sight up on the top there. Rear, just standard back plate on the back of your slide. You've got a somewhat difficult to operate slide stop / slide release, whatever you want to call it. It's not ambidextrous on the Gen 4 model. It's not reversible. And I honestly just top charge it every single time. It's a little hard to press down. Now you can swap that out and get a different version if you want to. In front of that we have your typical Glock takedown buttons or levers. We won't be doing any disassembly on this because we've already got a cleaning video on the channel that you can check out. Trigger guard is flared out slightly with some serrations on the front, which is kind of nice. Trigger guard cutout is generous. I think you could easily operate this with gloves if you needed to, some thin gloves. Your magazine catch is reversible, which is very nice. So if you are a lefty or if you're southpaw, that's something you can set up for you. And then obviously we did talk about adding those attachments on the rear to make the firearm fit your hands a little bit better. Stippling on the pistol grip, just kind of your standard, just kind of nubs. They are aggressive, but not so much that they cut into your skin with long shooting sessions. They do fit the hand really well. A little bit slick up towards the top. Might want to consider maybe a talon grip. I know a lot of people like to do that too. The trigger. So this is, when I was at the range, is where I struggled the most. The G17 trigger is a couple pounds heavier than the G40 trigger, and I know they're not the same pistol, and I'm kind of an apples to oranges comparison here. But I found the G40 trigger just light enough that on follow-up shots, I mean, I knew I was pulling the trigger, but sometimes it would happen a little bit sooner than I intended. You do have that basic Glock take up. We're looking at about a ½ inch. And then you got that break, reset. Very short, very crisp, very audible. So I just noticed it when I was shooting. I was like, man, this just feels so much lighter. And I didn't know if it was modified from the original because this is not my pistol, but it was not. That's just how it comes from the factory. You do get a slightly lighter trigger, probably because people that are going to use this may have some competition intention, possibly a home defensive situation, and so on. Another thing about this that I did not like, and this is just the design, it's not any kind of a fault of the gun or anything like that, but the longer slide, the longer barrel, very front heavy. I mean, I do feel like I could easily get a proper purchase on the firearm to hold it properly, but it kept kind of sagging. I just wasn't really used to that compared to a lot of the other pistols that I use. I typically don't fire handguns with this long of a barrel, but by the end of my shooting session, when I put a couple hundred rounds down range, it was very, very comfortable, very easy to use. I was used to it. I was used to the RMR dot sight on the top, the reflex sight on the top. And, I was hitting pretty good bullseyes and having a good time about it. So if you've never fired a handgun with this kind of an optic on the back, it takes a little getting used to. I kept getting distracted by the frame around the lens, and this is just somebody who's a first-time, RMR or reflex sight shooter, and so it took me a little bit of adjustment to that, but within 50, 100 rounds, no problems whatsoever. What I like about it, but what makes me feel kind of lazy, is the fact that you just put that little dot on your steel target and bing, you hit it. I don't feel like you have to focus as hard as you do, say, when you're doing bullseye shooting or precision shooting with just your standard, dot sights or iron sights. And so the whole point behind this is I do believe you have a faster target acquisition, but maybe with not as much precision necessarily as using the traditional dot sights. But again, with practice, a person can be a fantastic shooter with a pistol like this. And I was really hitting some bullseyes and surprised with how good the shooting was. Magazines, you do get, I believe, 3 15-round magazines, so you can go 15 plus 1. They do fall right out when you put them in. Easy to operate slide release, no problems there. And you definitely have a good capacity of 15 plus 1 in terms of the capacity when you're out there in the field or when you're in competition. Again, lots of hop-up parts out there available for it, and just a very simple pistol to use. One thing I like about Glock, there's not a lot of major changes in the design that you see, but you do, once you're familiar with the system, you're pretty much used to it. You do get an easy loader that comes along with it, a speed loader, a cleaning brush, a cleaning rod, a little adjustment pin that you use for the RMR. Once you add that, you can throw that in your box. You do get a gun lock, the usual safety manuals and all that fun stuff too. And then also, like I said, you do get these plates that come along with it so you can mount whatever sights you need to. Now, the actual shooting experience, let's talk about the ammunition. We ran 4 different types of ammunition at the range with this pistol. PMC bronze, which really was a really good performer. Just a slightly larger group overall than what we ran into with the Underwood ammunition, which to me was the superior performer overall. And you can check out, I'll show you some shooting footage here in the video. You can see how this worked out. If I had a good focus going on, if I was really concentrating, I was able to really lay some decent bullseyes down. Even when I got sloppy, and even when I thought my shots were going to be worse, my flyers were still within, I would say, an acceptable, efficient shot placement for, say, a combat distance or self-defense distance. I mean, I still kept everything within, say, just a 6-inch circle in general, with the bulk of my shots being within probably a 3 to 4 inch group. Now remember, this is the first time I've ever fired this handgun before, and I was using all kinds of different ammunition. All right, back to the ammunition. PMC bronze, I would say this right now. If you can get the PMC bronze for about the same price as the atomic, I'm not really sure what the retail price on this is because, you know, you can look around and find so many different prices. PMC bronze would definitely be the way to go. Perfectly acceptable for home defense use. These are 170 grain jacketed hollow points. I think they would do the job if necessary. And again, you can get into that a little bit cheaper than some of these other grades of ammunition. Great Lakes Farms and Ammunition. This was 180 grain XTP tip ammo. No problems at all. A little bit larger group than the PMC bronze. This was the second one that I tested. Thought maybe I'd shoot a little bit better because I was already warmed up on the PMC bronze when I moved over to this. But again, the groups and gaps did open up a little bit in the video footage. So if you check my range test on this video, which I will have linked to this video at the end, you can see how all four of these performed. Overall, best performer was the Underwood ammunition, and this was the first time that I've ever fired Underwood ammo before. 180 grain bonded jacketed hollow point firing at a screeching 1,300 feet per second. Not bad, not bad. That was the tightest group overall. Even though I tended to have clusters of 3 to 4 shots, this was the tightest overall group with just a few flyers just outside to say the second ring. Now, for the people shooting on a budget, I think these run about 80 cents around. The atomic ammunition, 10 millimeter match grade bonded defensive ammo, which they claim they inspect every single round before they get packaged to ensure your match grade consistency across the board. Really shot well, but it could have just been me, but it seems like this stuff was kind of all over the place. But it's still more than acceptable if you don't want to spend a lot of money, say on a high power or more expensive defense load / hunting load. Okay, and any of the steel shooting that you saw me doing in that range test was actually done with the atomic ammunition. And so overall, it's perfectly acceptable. No problems whatsoever. That's 180 grain bonded match hollow point, and it ran great. So overall feelings about this, would I buy one of these? We've owned a couple different Glocks in our time in the household, the G20, G17, G42, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, if you're somebody who wants to get into competition, and there's going to be more and more of these MOS options coming out on the Glock line as the future goes on, if not already by the time you guys watch this video. And again, perfectly acceptable, nothing wrong with it. Great handgun. I think it's going to do the job, whether you want to get into competition or you're considering going hunting, or maybe you just want something for self-defense. The long slide, again, it takes a little bit of getting used to that heft, but with enough training, it's definitely not an issue at all. And again, it is with great sadness I have to return this pistol to Stan today after I get it cleaned up, and gonna have to give it back to him. But I would consider going with the MOS option in the future. You're looking at probably about $100, maybe $150 premium in price, more like $100 versus the price of just a non-MOS slide Glock. But if you can get yourself, say, a G19 down the road with that MOS cutout in it, or get the slide modified to accept it, I'd say do it. It does offer a lot more flexibility to you for your type of shooting and just ease of use overall. Again, nothing wrong with standard field sights or dot sights or iron sights, but definitely is something that you can think about upgrading to at some point down the road. And again, optical clarity with the RMR, no problems at all. If I was careful with my shooting, I was shooting great. If I was kind of sloppy, I still shot great, which is really one thing that surprised me. So that's it, guys. That's my quick tabletop review on the G40 Gen 4 Austrian-made 10mm Glock pistol. Guys, if you like what you see, make sure you like or subscribe, mash that button so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos, mash the bell. Otherwise, guys, you can find me on GunTube. You can find me at guntube.org, over on Gunstreamer, UGEtube, gunchannels.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So a lot more content coming your way. So that's it, guys. Guys, I want you all to have fun. I want you to be safe. Oh, don't forget, check out Caliber Corner. It's a little weekly podcast that we have on Thursday evenings from 5 to 7 Central Time, 6 to 8 East Coast Time, over on gunchannels.com. Just look for the channel called Caliber Corner, and you are good to go. So otherwise, guys, that's it. I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, y'all have a great week. Bye-bye.